Very Yay, hello, last ContractB Zoom. Yahoo! I hope you're all pumped. Wow, what a journey it's been. 12 weeks. Flown by for me. I was after a little bit of open mic time actually to start with, just to get your thoughts on the unit and how you felt you grappled with the various different topics that we had. Particularly, I wanted to make sure that from this Zoom, you went away with a little bit more of an integrated or a holistic kind of view of contract A and B. And to just take a moment to do a brief cook's tour of the stuff that you've learned. And when you look back over it, I mean, here's the time that you've basically digested over the last 6 months. And it's it's a big whopping thing to kind of come to terms with. But you started off, did you not, with contract A, and you learned, you went through some of the theories on which contract is grounded, yes? You started off on the usual theoretical basis. And so, did someone say something? No? And then I'm just looking here at the front part. Did you go through negotiation? Because I think that's a really interesting chapter, or did you just bypass that? Yeah.
My experience was we bypassed it.
You bypassed it. Because that's a really interesting little area that I'm currently researching in, is the whole problem of how to get people to negotiate effectively. And I'll come back to that, I think, because it deserves a bit more of a mention, particularly because, you know, I'd like to leave you with some feeling that we've wrapped things up with a nice little bow as much as you can. But just looking at the index here, I mean, you have covered a whole stack of very, very complicated law here, and you should, you know, be giving yourself a little mental pat on the back at this point in time. I know you're heading into exams, but it's important to take stock of where you are and how far you've come, to give yourself a little bit of extra confidence heading into the exams. Because I think, you know, all too often you head in and all you can see is this mound of work in front of you. But in actual fact, I like to think of it just as a perspective shift. You know, if you can visualize yourself walking out of that exam having done well, it can make the difference in terms of your performance. And so I just wanted to, you know, do a brief cook's tour. I mean, you've gone through all of those craggy nooks and crannies that were involved with formation in contract A. You had a look at content. You had a look at, you know, limits on enforcement, privity, capacity, all of that kind of stuff. And that, at the end of contract A, probably left you thinking, yeah, that's a fair bit of stuff that I've learned. And then you kind of hit contract B and the wave hits you and you go, oh my gosh, there's more. The thing I like about contract B is that I think it's a good way to start you off on your lawyering journey, you know, through law school. You know, you get presented this nice little fairly discrete topic of contract A, as with a lot of the other A type subjects. And you get this kind of little pencil sketch, of a box with a roof, and then you call it a house, and you think, wow, that's a drawing of a house. And then you get contract B, and you get this hugely detailed impressionistic sketch of a house that you can't even kind of see if you look at it properly, and you have to kind of look at it in the right light with one eye shut. It ramps up the level of difficulty. But it also, and I started to touch on this last week, I think it's a good way of ramping up. Once you've got a little bit of law under your belt with the A subject, it's a good way of getting you to start thinking about turning things around in your mind, turning facts around in your mind, trying to look at them from one party's point of view, trying to look at them from another party's point of view, both at the same time, usually. Trying to feed into that complicated angling in your head, the facts that you've been given, and the law that's always changing. Contract law changes at a fairly glacial pace. So you don't have to worry about too many tricky, recent developments. There are, the odd one or two, but more with Contract B, it's feeding in your real nuanced understanding of the principles that you've been given and the often conflicting nature of the case law on one and the same point. Often you'll get one case going one way, another case going another way, and you've got to try and reconcile all of that in your understanding of the technicalities of that area of the law. And that's where you really start to refine your analysis. And I think B subjects are awesome because at the end of a B subject, once you get that good old tick of approval and you've got a pass or hopefully an HD, it does give you some real sense of achievement that you're starting on your lawyering journey and you're really starting to grapple with fairly complicated concepts. So B, if you recall, we started off with mistake, and then we swung back to misrepresentation. We went and had a look at misleading and deceptive conduct, duress, undue influence, and unconscionable conduct, the holy trilogy there, and void and illegal contracts. So they were our vitiating factors, all of the ways that you can use your tricky lawyering skills to unpick a contract that has otherwise been validly formed. Then we had a look at the back half of term at discharge of the contract by performance, by agreement, no really complicated brain surgery required there. Termination, obviously breach was the big one there, and frustration. Then we had a little look at remedies, of which damages was our clear focus there, but we also did have a look at equitable remedies and restitutionary remedies as well. So the way that our assessment was structured, as you know, we had our first written assessment for the 20%, and I deliberately made that focus on the early stuff so that we could use some of that, misleading and deceptive conduct and issues surrounding that and estoppel in the oral submissions that you've done. Again, that was largely focusing on the early half of the term. I don't propose to go and revisit that material in terms of the exam in any significant manner, and I'll go through the exam tips for you later on. So you can take some comfort in the fact that my focus for the exam has principally been on the back half of term. Okay, I think that we've covered that front half of term fairly commandingly by virtue of those first two assessments. I've given you plenty of feedback in relation to those assessments. I'm hoping that you're feeling that you have, even if you didn't quite get the mark that you wanted, I'm hoping that you feel like after you've seen the answer guide and you've seen my feedback, you know, you've done a bit of a learning curve on, you know, the way that you're going to tackle your analysis next time. I think the feedback that I gave you for your written assessment, for the first assessment, you should definitely take that into account when you're preparing to do the 2 IRACs for your exam. I have tried to be fairly full with my feedback, so if anyone is having difficulty understanding anything that I've said, then please let me know, or if you need to discuss things prior to the exam, let me know. Okay, just flick me an email and we can set up a Zoom if you need to. So that's my Cook's tour of Contract A and Contract B. It is amazing how, you know, you think, oh gosh, you know, I'm never going to use much of this in practice. It's funny how your brain stores this stuff away, you know, even if you've crammed it in there at midnight the night before the exam. It's odd how, you know, 5 or 10 years down the track you'll be in practice somewhere, or you'll be looking at something and you'll think, I think that should be covered by the principles of unconscionable conduct. and you know, you'll get this strange little drawer in your brain open, and out will pop mystical words like special disability and you know, asymmetrical power relations, and case names like Amadio, heaven forbid. So, you know, you will have this stuff crop up. Of your first year units, unless you're working for a crash and bash firm, you know, contract is probably going to be one of the I guess bread and butter sets of principles that you'll be working with on a daily basis in your practical, you know, experience of law later on down the track. So I hope you've had some fun. I know it's always hard thinking of university as fun, but I think Contract B, with the way that it deals with some fairly human issues in an entertaining way, has provided a small slice of amusement for you. I would be interested to know on that topic whether or not you liked the Facebook support that I ran, or whether you thought it was meh or could be improved. I would really appreciate everyone doing a have your say for me, because I am trying to improve my engagement with the students all the time. And if there's something that I can do to tweak the Facebook thing for you or make your student experience better for the next cohort. Oh, Emily's saying she found value in the Facebook page. That's really good. Thanks, Emily. I was a little worried there because I was just saying to one of my colleagues last week, she was saying, oh, how's your Facebook page going? And I said, oh, they're very quiet. And they're not posting very much. Bring back LVD. I know. I did enjoy that large group a lot. But university processes being what they are, we have to comply. But, if there is something further, a new or different idea you would have for me to improve that that communication platform with you guys, then please let me know. I'd also... Sorry, Mike.
The fact that if you've got a group page and someone texts, everyone's phone beeps and it beeps. And if you get a bunch of people running on a conversation, your phone just doesn't shut up. And that's the negative on me. Whereas my first semester was the last summer semester, and we use Ucrew and stuff like that. And I didn't have a problem with that because that's what we'll given. But then you've got to scroll through conversations rather than topics as well on the Facebook. That's the other side of it. So not just the fact of turning it off, but you got to go and scroll through everything. Whereas say something like Ucrew or Moodle or something, you're picking topics. That's discussed, and then there's a different topic.
There's a couple of different things there. In my week one notes, you may not have, you may have missed it, but there was a specific discussion about turning notifications off for chats. So maybe I will highlight that a bit more, because there are ways that you can turn off those notifications, both in terms of group chats and in terms of the Facebook posting itself. So I guess that's one thing to notice. I don't know how familiar you are with Facebook, but you can switch off notifications. So I will draw that discussion in the week one notes to the next cohort's attention. Thanks for that. In terms
I love Facebook, so I'm a Facebook lover. So for me, it was awesome. But I also don't work, so I don't know. Maybe it's different for me because I'm at home.
Yeah, I find, I think it's just because people feel a little less formal on Facebook, that they do tend to ask, the hashtags help you filter information. And Michael, that's another way that you can actually get to the topic that you want to read on Facebook. That's why I use the hashtag, so you can just go and search on the hashtags for whenever you want to find stuff. But Ucrew is now a dead dinosaur so far as CQU is concerned. We're disabling that platform, so that won't be an option. So the only options that we will have will be Moodle or Facebook, if they let us rebel lecturers keep using Facebook in our small groups. I think Moodle, the problem with Moodle is that I think people constantly think that they are being assessed, or that it's a much more formal atmosphere, as compared to something like Facebook. And I did run, in my intellectual property law elective, I did run a concerted effort on Moodle to try and make the page engaging. And a lot of people don't like Ucrew, and that's why they've said goodbye to it. Moodle, the problem with Moodle discussion forums is that, you know, as I said, most people treat it like a very formal exercise. And even like in my IP elective, I even ran a competition because I wasn't going to assess people on, you know, a weekly basis to try and get people to participate on the Moodle discussion. So I thought, oh, what's going to prompt the discussions on the discussion board? Money will do it. So I offered a $100 gift voucher with, I think it was Myers, to, you know, the person that contributed most to the Moodle discussion forums. And, you know, in a control situation, I mean, I didn't run it in the other subject I was running, and there was almost no discussion in the Moodle forums. In my IP unit, there was better discussion when I ran the competition. But I wouldn't necessarily say that it was the kind of discussion that helped you guys to feel like you had a little community going. That was just my take on it anyway. Oh, bye, Jackie. So yeah, everything is being recorded, don't worry. So I'd certainly, in the Have Your Says, be very interested to hear your comments about how we can build more of a sense of community in ContractB, because I do feel, and I did run a survey at the beginning of term. I don't know whether any of you guys did one of those surveys, but it was called Understanding Adversity in Online Legal Education. And I basically asked students to tell me a whole lot of stuff, to tell me about the challenges that you were facing, but also I was really super interested to hear your responses to the question, what is the worst thing about your online education experience? And because everyone knows what the best thing, I still asked what the best thing was. And of course, you got all the usual, you know, flexibility and work at your own pace and all of that, you know, lifestyle factors and all of that kind of stuff. That's kind of a no-brainer. But I was very interested to hear what students were prepared to tell me about, you know, what difficulties they were facing. And I haven't done my full my statistical analysis yet, or my my qual analysis, but just from reading through the comments, time and again, you know, we got one of the worst challenges of online education was that sense of isolation, you know, that feeling like it's just me in this room again doing study on my own again, you know. And so that's why, and that confirmed a survey that I did last year as well. I got my ContractB people at the end of the last iteration to do a survey for me. Not a Have Your Say, just a separate survey. On you know, what were the worst things about the whole online thing, and isolation was one of the, you know, regular responses that I got. So, you know, anything that I can do to improve, that's frustration, yeah, isolation. Because the thing is, you don't realise when you're back at like a face-to-face uni, you don't even realise the level of interaction that you're having with people. You know, you go onto campus, you're walking past people, you meet up with a mate for coffee in the refec, you know, you might grab some crappy food, share a laugh, go and have a lecture, fall asleep if they're boring, wake up at the end, have some friendly banter with the lecturer and, you know, head on back down to the refec or go home. And so, you know, we don't have that. And I'm really keen to get your ideas on how we can foster that as part of, you know, what we do for you on a weekly basis, us lecturers. How can we build that sense of community? And I guess my small tilt at that windmill has been Facebook. So I would really appreciate if you can let me know. I'm not running that extra survey this time because I think everyone's probably surveyed out, but if you can do a have your say for me, I would really, really super appreciate it, because I am serious about, you know, getting to know you guys and giving you guys a sense of camaraderie and community if I can. Emily, you're going through the same thing as your fiance. Yes, I think that isolation thing, you can't underestimate that, because you don't even, it just becomes one of those things that make you feel like it's all a bit of a slog, you know, and you don't really even realise it until you stop and think, oh, why is this such a drag? And then you realise, I mean, for those of us that did actually go to a face-to-face uni, and I think about that experience and I think about what you guys experience, they're really very different. Now, each has their plus and minuses, but I do think that there is more we can do together, like the student cohort and the lecturers, in terms of getting our heads together and working out, you know, what are the kinds of stuff that you like to see? You know, what would you prefer to have as your communication platform? You know, do you even like to communicate with lecturers? I guess that's the first and foremost question, isn't it? You know, here's me, you know, blah, 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 like the old Snoopy cartoons. You know, you don't even hear what they're saying and you just got this trumpet in your ear. But if you do like to interact, and I'm banking that there are some of you out there, please tell me what we can do to alleviate that sense of isolation. I have presented 2 conference papers on that topic this year, and it's something that I'm fairly passionate about, as you could probably tell from my weird ramblings on Facebook. So, you know, just some feedback would be awesome. Emily says, I have a perfectly good study area at home. Every so often you go to the uni library and study there just to get a change of scenery and feel like you're part of the uni. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, you know, quite often when you're interacting as part of campus-based education, you don't even realise that you're interacting. It's just being around people and exchanging pleasantries. Hi, how are you going? And you might not have a deep and meaningful conversation, but you certainly do have those little social pleasantries which do make you feel included. And they do, it all builds up to a sense of belonging, you know, and you have that sense of identification with your educational institution, which I think is really important, because it's one of those things at the end of the day, you know, when things are becoming really tough and it's a hard slog to keep going with your study because of family commitments and life, you know, it's one of those things that will keep you going, is that sense of belonging and that sense of community. So yeah, I did present on that a couple of times, and as you can tell, it's something that I think we need to address. I actually, and here's a I'm just going to say it anyway. one of those people that just say whatever's on my mind regardless of whether I should or not. But I actually think that we should have like a student forum. You know, I think we should have a massive open Zoom for everybody. We're allowed to have up to 500 participants at any one meeting. I reckon, wouldn't it be awesome, even if it was, well, I was going to say, even if it was just once a year, but wouldn't it be awesome just to get everybody together in the one spot? First years, second years, third years. I think it would be great. And then you could collectively, you know, you could go into breakout rooms, and I reckon there's even scope to have like a one-day thing where you could go into breakout rooms and chat with people that you wanted to chat to. I mean, I don't know. No agenda.
I don't know what works for other people, but I've reached out to a couple of people since year one, since my first subject, and I've kept those relationships, and we talk all the time on Messenger. We might not necessarily always be doing the same subject, but at least you can just shoot ideas and just say, you know, how was your day? My day was really crap. You know, this happened. And I don't know, that might not work for other people, but it sure worked for me, just reaching out and talking to other people and just having those contacts.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I kind of hope that people will at least grab the contact details of people that they've met up through ContractB on the Facey page. And you can do that. You know, at least that's one way of connecting with your peers. But I think it would be fun. I think that kind of connection for forming deeper friendships and support is awesome. But I also think there's room for just something just for fun, just to have like a massive Zoom that we could all get to. Because we don't even have things like law balls. You know, we don't have a law ball. We don't have a law review. And that's why, you know, that's something that a few students were starting to play around with, that idea on LVD before it kind of bit the dust. But, you know, a law ball would be great. Inter-class debate. See, there's another thing. We could do a debate, and we could just invite everybody, like the whole law faculty, staff, students. Like I said, we've got room for 500 in one meeting. So, you know, I reckon there is definitely more that we can be doing. So if all of that sounded like complete craziness, tell me, Inna, have your say. If it sounded great, tell me, Inna, have your say. Yeah. See, Marcus just said, you know, when he was president of Debate Society, it was something that he was planning. I think that if we can get a few of those things on the agenda, it might give us a little bit more of a sense of, you know, something that people can plan for, and, you know, a bit of interaction happening. Anyway, that's my little rant for Contract A, Contract B. Where I would like us to be heading for student engagement. If can I just ask, if you are one of those people that would like to say that you would prefer to communicate on Moodle, because I know that I know law balls would be awesome. I know that there are plenty of people out there that do prefer Moodle to Facebook, and that is absolutely fine. What I would like you to do, because unfortunately with those have your says, you know, people just tend to go, nah, I want Moodle. That's fine, but what I would like you to do is kind of give me some suggestions. If you think that we should can Facebook altogether, give me some suggestions about what I could do on Moodle that would make the experience, or what I could pass on to other lecturers, and what we could do as a group on Moodle to make your learning experience better, if that's the way that you would prefer to have things done. So, law balls, cross-posting will work. I prefer more formal communication than Facebook. Yeah, you know what? That's fine. And there are always a goodly smattering of people that have that perspective. And that's a perfectly valid perspective. There, in fact, you know, ever since Facebook's been had that horrible privacy scare, there are plenty of people that don't like Facebook particularly. So if we are thinking, all right, let's not do Facebook, please tell me what you would like to see on Moodle that would make our community building effort better. Yes, Moodle has an outdated format. It isn't very engaging. I never get much student engagement when I post on Moodle, so I gave up on it early. Yeah, this is the thing, you know, people equate going onto Moodle with assessment or with formal activity.
With ContractA it was, and yet the funny thing was that no one was actually engaging on Moodle at all until the 4th assessment, which said that it was based on your interaction through the Moodle tutorial boards. And then everyone just goes, well, I didn't do anything. I wasn't on there. So how am I going to be assessed? So that kind of like ContractA with that engagement on Moodle was just cactus. Didn't work.
Yes.
But that's my experience anyway.
Yes. It's hard for me to do any decent community building on Moodle because it is seen as that formal, you know, potentially accessible platform. And, you know, it kind of sucks for me because I'd really like to have somewhere where you could just hang. The other problem, I guess, is that it's not it would be ideal to get a platform where everyone was just on there anyway and interacting socially anyway, and that's why I chose Facebook. But I understand some people see that as a bit on the nose. Sarah, don't cancel Facebook. If just use Moodle, can the app be updated to have an easier access like Facebook? Yeah, that app's a bit clunky, isn't it? I will feed that through definitely because, you know, we are trying to work out what the best platform is. So if we can improve that, you know, that'd be something at least. I'm not on Facebook, but use Yammer for work. I have a number of groups, all staff across 20 offices, quite informal, allows a chat in public or private groups, but without limiting people that don't have Facebook. That's really interesting. I've never even heard of Yammer. Wow, is that like a WhatsApp kind of app? Has anybody else been onto Yammer? No. I will check that out. Thank you. Need a separate student hub app. I don't know what student hubs there are and whether or not there's anything like that. Has anybody heard of a student hub? There is no student hub.
I had one at my last uni, but again, the engagement was low.
Yeah, that's the thing. Marcus says, I think there should be a point system which displays a ranking of student engagement to add an incentive to post on Moodle. Most law students are competitive. If there was a ranking ladder, I'd post a lot more to keep my name on top. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, yeah. Look, you know, there are different ways to encourage participation. That's certainly one of them. I don't like doing the assessment thing, but, you know, I would like to have a social forum somewhere for people to chat, but Facebook's probably the winning platform, says Joshua. Yeah, look, thanks for your thoughts on that. I hope you don't feel that I was wasting your time discussing that, but as I said, you know, to me it's a super important issue because how you feel really does impact directly on your academic performance, you know, and you can't underestimate the power of some decent networking and support. And if that gives you a leg up on academic achievement, hey, all the better. Yeah, Facebook and Moodle. I think they can coexist too, Emily.
One other feedback, AJ, is too, a lot of other subjects don't offer it, but your Zoom drop-in, I would highly recommend keeping that because I found that invaluable.
Oh, thank you. Look, do you know what, Tam? I wasn't going to offer it next term because no one came except for you and Mary and Michael. So, I don't know. Did anybody actually watch that, the drop-ins, or did you all just fast forward past it? Please be honest, because this will determine whether I offer it for the next cohort.
Maybe don't do it every week.
Yeah.
Maybe offer it fortnightly or every 3 weeks or something, and you might get a better turnout. I don't know, but for me, it worked. So.
Yeah, just less often. Yeah, that's what I think I'll do. Because there's not much point if people don't want to or can't, because it was on a bit earlier, can't participate. So, oh yeah, okay, Joshua, I understand there was conflicts there. Okay. Although is admin law, is that a second year subject? How are you doing admin law if you're a first year? Joshua. Joshua's run away. Okay. All right. I guess that's all I really wanted to say to you guys. Thank you so much for appearing. Drum roll, and let's proceed on to exam guidance. And so no surprises. I'm just going to dangle this in front of your face because it's my answer guide. Ooh. The exam has 10 questions in total that you have to answer. I'm just going through the instruction sheet now, so there's no surprises. Part A requires you to answer 2 questions. Both of them in IRAC form. Each question is worth 15 marks. So part A is worth a total of 30 marks. Okie dokie. Then we have part B. Part B requires you to answer 8 questions. The marks for each question are as indicated, and part B is worth a total of 20 marks. Now, part B, the mark split is the first short answer question is 3 marks, the next one's 3 marks, the next one's 4 marks, the next one's 1 mark, the next one's 3 marks, the next one's 2 marks, the next one's 2 marks, and the last one is 2 marks. So it's a smattering of between 1 and 4 marks, mostly 3s. Okay. If you have not already done so, please download and print off the contract terms that I have already put up on Moodle a couple of weeks ago. Okay, please download and print those and take them with you. They will be gold, because part A, the problem facts, they comprise about half a page of the first page of facts. So you really, and apart from the contract clauses, you're looking at maybe a page and a half of facts or so, roughly. So there's two pages, but half of 1 page is your contract terms. it should be no surprise to you if you look at the contract terms that I've given you and you look at the cases of Progressive Mailing House and Tabali and Chevelin Builders Licensing Board and Lorinda and Capalwa Park Shopping Centre, you should be able to work out where the facts are roughly headed. Given that I've said to you that this Part A focuses on termination and damages, okay? So we know that it focuses on termination and damages. You need to look at those three cases. You need to look at the contract terms. And as Tam even suggested, the other day, once you're equipped with all of that, and you've done your readings from the text and the casebook on termination, and you've looked at those cases, and you will need to know those cases from OSLI. You cannot rely on what is said about those cases in the casebook or the text, particularly for Chevel, because it really doesn't talk about Chevel much at all. They do mention Chevel in the other cases, but you do need to look at those on OSLI. Okay. So, you should be able to, once you've done all of that reading and you've looked at the contract terms, you should pretty much be able to hash out a rough guide for the things that you want to say in your IRAC before you even get into the exam. Okay. Now, you know that the problem facts involve So Snooty and Paparazzi again. So they are your own homegrown friends for ContractB. It's always nice to have familiar characters when you're heading into an exam room. So I thought we'd keep our friends for the exam. Much like my perspective on all of ContractB, you'll be required in question 1 of Part A to advise So Snooty, and in question 2 of Part A, you'll be required to advise Papa R. Okay? So, the only thing that you really need to really carefully analyse when you're in the exam room is the actual progression of facts as they unfold between the parties. I would suggest for you, I don't know if you tend to do this anyway yourself, but this was my approach. I used to take a trusty highlighter and I would have one highlighter colour for dates and one highlighter colour for potential facts that you can marry up with the case law. And then I would go through, as I was in the exam room, and highlight through my facts on the exam, so that when you're coming to write your IRACs, you can follow the flow of what happened and when. But if you do have a good appreciation of that case law, honestly, I think these IRACs should almost write themselves. Okay, so
just on that, AJ, with regards to the highlighting, I know last term with Contracts A, we could actually do all of that during the reading time. Is that the same with Contracts B? We can highlight and write some notes on a separate piece of paper during reading time? Or not? Because I know with my last uni, it was no pens, no nothing during reading time, but definitely with contracts last term, we could do pretty much what we wanted.
that you can, because I've made sure that you've had a few pieces of scribbling paper, and I just assumed that was for you to scribble on and muck around with whilst you were highlighting and brainstorming your ideas.
Yeah, cool.
I certainly didn't say anything to the effect that you couldn't write in perusal time. I think perusal time is a valuable time to scribble down your thoughts. So that just sounds pure nastiness, not letting you scribble in perusal time.
Well, I mean, it was a commerce degree. Who knows?
Oh, okay, the number people. Ugh. Okay, so that is pretty much as much as I can give you for part A. Part B, okay, like I said, with part B, I've kind of taken an approach of trying to do one little question for most of the weeks for the back half. And some of them are just like principles that we've been discussing. Oh, Emily, I missed that. Lorinda and Capella Park, Progressive Mating House in Tavali, Chevel and Builders License and Board. Yep, that's it. Yep, that's definitely it. Plus, you know, the chapters on that go into those principles. Start again. The sections in the chapter on termination that deal with these issues. You need to make sure you are across the chapter so far as that is concerned, definitely, because the chapter is invaluable. You know, the cases will give you what you need so far as the facts for the IRAC, but those cases will be relevant for the two questions in part A. Yes. Now, all right, that's about all I can. You know, there are other, and the reason why, I'm just looking at my answer guide. They are not the only 3 cases that I mentioned in my answer guide, just in case you were, I would look at Lorinda and Lace. Yes, Michael says Lorinda and Lace. I'm sure we can't have those exam questions. I love you. So there are other cases that I have mentioned in the answer guide, but they're more, you know, the icing on the top stuff. So that's why I say it is important to go through that chapter on termination and to really make sure that you understand termination like the back of your hand, because you will find, or good HD students will find, that there are issues in the facts that will lead you to mention other cases if you've got, you know, your eagle eyes with you. Good exam drafting always, you know, caters for various levels of aptitude. So you always need to put in a few things in there that will tip off the HD students that there is, you know, another case or another issue, principle that they can mention somewhere there. So do digest that chapter fully. As I said, if you got some decent feedback from me for your, or you should have got some decent feedback from me for your first written assessment, particularly in relation to IRAC style, then make sure you revisit that. what else can I say? If you were one of those lucky few that submitted some IRACs to me and got extra IRAC practice, that's gold at this stage of term. That is absolute gold, because you've got an inside track into the workings of my mind and what I like to see in a good, clean IRAC. So if you did take the time to do that and wondered if it would ever pay off, now's the time. It will definitely pay off. Make sure that you read my IRAC top tips again, because, you know, I say this after every assessment, but thanks, Marcus. Please, the one consistent error that so many students make is the sweeping generalization error that I mentioned in the IRAC top tips. You know, so you'll go through a case and you might, well, the worst example is where you go, for example, in Lorinda and Capalbar Park Shopping Centre, there were similar facts at play. The court held X. Clearly, the court will hold X here. Now, that tells me nothing. That is actually not applying the law to the facts. All you've done is cite a case. I don't know if you know what the case was about. I know that you think it has similar facts, but you haven't pulled any of them out to show me that you know there are similar facts. And you haven't taken it that one step further and said, here's the facts in Lorinda. Hey, have a look at these facts here. We've got this fact, we've got this fact, that lines up, this lines up. Similarly here, we have this happening. And in addition, as in Lorinda, we have this happening. So therefore, because the court held X in Lorinda, it is likely that a court would hold X here. That is good application of the law to the facts. Okay, that will demonstrate your mastery. Please, if anything, to the people that are watching this recording at home, please, 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 don't fall into that trap of sweeping generalizations, because it will cost you marks, and it will cost you marks dearly. Okay, that's the one big thing that I wanted to mention. So far as the rest of the exam goes for Part B, as I said, some of them are principles, and the first one really is, oh no, it's not. I was going to say it's just a general principle, but that's down further. The question 3, which is the first one for Part B, is drawn from the week on illegality. Okay, so you need to be aware of the consequences of being declared void or illegal. For the next one, and this one was really, I struggled with this, whether I should, whether I shouldn't. Yeah. The next one is drawn from the week on termination by agreement, which is a very short chapter. So make sure you are aware of that. The next one is, so this is question 5 of Part B. This one is also drawn, this one is drawn from the chapter on performance. Okay. So that one's worth 4 marks. And we need to know the nasty little rule, shall I say, that was applied in the Sailor case. For question 6 of part B, it's drawn from the chapter on frustration. Again, that's a fairly short chapter, so you should be able to get across that one. No problemo. The actual question itself is more of a, it's more of just a general principle. So you don't have to worry about citing case law or anything for that. It's just a general principle drawn from the chapter on frustration. Question 7 of part B. This is just my favourite. It looks at, it's drawn from the chapter on damages. So it deals with one particular head of damages, and that is mental distress. 8. This is the question, just about general principle that we've been discussing all term. So with this one, you either know it or you don't. It's 2 marks. Question 9 is drawn from the chapter on remedies. Okay, remedies. And in particular, specific performance. And the last one, question 10, I have to include a question on international issues. So it's drawn from that chapter 28 that we went through on international issues. And it just lines up with my general take on that, which is, you know, you don't have to worry about any of those international treaties or any of that, you know, the large scale conventions and so forth. If you look mainly at the Incoterms, you'll be happy there. So that is as much as I can help you in terms of what you need to SWOT up for.
Sorry, just a question. I've got it written down before. You've talked about part A, termination, and I've written down repudiation as well. From something you've said, probably week 7.
Yes, well, if you have read any of the cases, you'll know that that's bound up with that.
Yeah, cool. That starts this weekend.
That is what those cases are about. So, but if you march, like I said, if you march into the exam, put it this way: if you can kick part A well and truly, well, you've basically passed the exam because it's 30 marks and the other bit's only 20. I want to make those 2 RACs, you know, I want you to go in feeling like I've got this. Do you know what I mean? So I hope that you feel prepared, and I hope that you can see yourself now. You've got a clear pathway of where you need to go. Just smash it. Just do it. Is there any, I'm sorry, we've gone a little bit over. I wasn't even anticipating spending that much time with you guys, but it's been so much fun talking to you. Sorry. Is there anything else that you would like to discuss? Thank you, Sinead. Thank you, Marcus. Any other queries, comments, questions? Now's your time, peeps. No. This was actually an incredible session for prep. Had a lovely time. What's up? Go and have a nice cup of tea, glass of wine. I'm having a glass of wine. Have some dinner, chill. Bye, guys. No worries. Thanks, Sarah. Bye, Emily. Thanks, Marcus.
Thanks, AJ.
No worries, guys. Mwah!
Bye.
I hope I get you sometime soon in another subject. Bye.
Bye.